It's time for the Greek of the Week for Anna and a few of you who still like Greek. I'm in Revelation ish. I did a verse from chapter 1, did a verse from chapter 17. Revelation 17 and 13, I think, in my Revelation Decoded journey. In Revelation 17, we learned that the kind of starting point for the history of Revelation is probably early in the reign of Vespasian, around the year 69, maybe right before the temple was destroyed. John is on the island of Patmos as he starts receiving this revelation. Revelation. It's not a coincidence. And so there's a Roman Empire context for the book of Revelation. So if we then go back, so we know that this beast is one of the five. That is, it's either Augustus or Tiberius or Caligula or Claudius or Nero, in terms of the archetype of at least. And so if we go back to verse 13 and we get more clues. Again, I'm going out of order to try to decode the book of Revelation. See if you can pronounce this Greek here. Here's my pronunciation using Erasmus. I'm sorry. Edoken auto ho drakon tein dunamin autou kai ton thronon. Actually, this is similar to probably teen, maybe, would be the iticism. But anyway, okay, so what is this? What do we recognize here? Autou is of him or his. We see it a lot in the New Testament. That's a keeper. Auton, his. Auto is related, but this is a genitive ending, of him. This is a dative ending, to him. And notice that the word of isn't here. Ancient Greek doesn't have a word for of, really. It leaps out of the ending. Similarly, the word to, Greek does have a word for to, but this is indirect object to, and it doesn't usually use a word for that, but rather this dative ending, see a little subscript, I'm still here, suggests that it's a dative. So to him and of him, teen dunamin, actually teen dynamin in the modern Greek pronunciation. Anyway, this is accusative, which is the direct object. So the power. I've got the power. Anyway, I've procrastinated long enough. Edoken. What is this thing? Okay, here we go. A nu with an epsilon in front of it is very often a movable nu. Throw it away. That means it's just there for the sound, because it's easier to say edokenauto than to say edokeauto. And so the nu, it makes it flow. It's a movable nu. It's like cartilage, but it's meaningless. The is a very common third-person singular past tense ending. And in fact, this is he gave. He gave, and who gave? Well, the dragon did. Ho drakon, Draco Malfoy. Ho drakon. This is the subject. It's in the nominative case, the subject case. So this actually comes first in our translation. And the dragon gave to him the power of him and the throne of him. Now, we don't say in English the power of him and the throne of him. That's not good English. It's good Greek. It's excellent Koine and ancient Greek, but it's not good English. So we're going to translate it as his power. Actually, the reason I went with his is because I didn't have enough space if I put of him. I might have, but never mind. So, and he gave to him, that is, the dragon gave to him his power and his throne. That is, the dragon, Satan, gave to the beast his power and his throne. Okay, so back to Edoken. So this is a past tense ending of some kind, he gave. That kappa may be throwing you off if you know any Greek. You might be thinking, is it perfect? Is it perfect? I learned perfect. Kappa, perfect. Is it perfect? Am I smart? You are smart, but as usual, Greek foiled again. This is a me verb. Ditto me, dittos, ditto, see, ditto me. It adds a di on the front in the present tense. I'm all verklempt. It's not usual. It's not the normal verb thing to do. You don't usually add a di on the front. the delta gets a little beside itself and puts an iota in the middle. That's not typical. But this is a me verb. It's a weird verb. It's a very old verb. But anyway, so you've lost the di because it's aorist. It's just aorist. I'm sorry. And the aorist of didomi uses a kappa. I'm sorry. I didn't invent this language. Why did they do it? Of course, if you see it long enough, Edoken, he gave, you kind of get used to it. So this epsilon is an augment. So we have an augment on the front. It's a donation. It's giving you something. It's the word didomi. Kappa is unusual for the aorist in general, but in the me verbs, they do it sometimes. Epsilon is third person singular. So putting it all together, this is an aorist active indicative, third singular from didomi. I'm sorry. And he gave to him, that is, the dragon gave to him the power of him and the throne of him, autou. I couldn't get it on the line, but I put the his up there anyway. Kai exousian megalein kai mian ekton kephalon autou. So we got some more autous. This is where the his comes from. Here's another of him. From the heads. He has 7 heads. We learned in chapter 17 that the 7 heads are 7 hills. And what are those? It's Rome. It's 7 hills, 7 heads. It's Rome. It just is, or was. Mia is 1. It's the feminine word for 1. Mia Pharaoh is feminine, right? And 1 of his heads. So the dragon gave to him his power and this throne, and exousian megalein. He gave him authority great authority. Greek tends to put it doesn't have to, but it tends to put, in this case at least, the adjective after the word. So the dragon gave the beast power, throne, authority, and one of the heads of it. Okay, so this is a new sentence here. I should have put a period. Right here. And one of his heads was as having been slain unto death. Usually when you are slain to death. Anyway, so one of the heads of this, so this is a strange one, right? And we saw this in chapter 17, that the 8th king is one of the 5, but he's dead, but he's not anymore. And again, you could say, well, is that archetype? He was an archetype of somebody else, or is he come back from the dead? And, drum roll, please, there were myths of Nero's return. So whether John literally expected Nero to return, I hope that wasn't what he was saying, because it didn't happen. But there were myths out there. The Sibylline oracles talk about it, this idea that Nero would come back. It's kind of like when someone larger than life like that dies, it's hard to believe they're gone. When Hitler died, there were people who thought that he was alive in South America, that no, it couldn't have been really. He couldn't have died. He had to have had an escape plan. It's very hard for us to believe that villains like that, are really gone. There's got to be conspiracy going on here. And so many did think that Nero was still alive, or at least he was coming back. Nero committed suicide because they were going to kill him. And so rather than be killed by someone else, he killed himself. So one of the heads of him, as having been slain to death. All right, so as is hos. So hos esphagmenein ace thanaton kai he plege, or e plegi in modern Greek pronunciation, to thanatu autou. Unto death, and the wound of his death. That's that line. Now let's tackle this one. This is the hard word. So Edoken was a little hard. Here's our next kind of hard word. So what's going on here? It's I think it's like sphagnumi or something. I don't remember exactly what the dictionary form of it is, but I can parse it. So I know ain is an accusative feminine singular ending, which makes sense. One is feminine singular accusative. So one having been slain, so one of his heads having been slain, one having been slain. So it matches an adjective or a participle. It's a participle. I gave it away. An adjective has to agree in case, number, gender. And so this is feminine accusative singular. This is also feminine accusative singular. Men are passive or middle participles. So there was my clue there. When men is not the ending. If it is the ending, then it's we, right? Luo men, we, loose. But when it's right before the ending, men are passive participles or middle participles. But that's not as memorable. So the been comes from the fact that it's passive. The having, the ing on having comes from the fact that it's a participle. And then slain comes from the fact that it's something like sphagnomy. I don't remember exactly the word. Look it up. You should do some of the work here. So is that an augment? No, it's not an augment because participles don't do augments. The clue here is that you can see that this ending, menane, is shoved right up onto the stem, gamma. Normally there's a amenane, so normally there would be like an omicron there, and there isn't. So there is one place where the ending is shoved right on the stem, and that is the perfect middle or passive. So this is a perfect middle or passive participle, accusative feminine singular from sphagnomy or something like that. Okay, fine, I'll look it up. Okay, I was wrong. What'd you say, Ken? I was wrong. It's sfadzo. I was overthinking it. It's sfadzo. Okay, but anyway, so the having comes from the fact that it's perfect. The ing comes from the fact that it's a participle. Been comes from the fact that it's passive. Slain from its sfadzo. So having been slain. You could, of course, do better if you were creating your own real translation to sell, as if it had been slain, or something like that. What else do I want to say? What else? Better. It's perfect. So it slain and remain slain would be the sense of the perfect, unto death. Okay, let's keep going. I have one more page. I put in 3 verses here. But it was not only slave, the wound, therapeuthe, it was healed. Kai ethalmaste, and marveled, hole hege, all the land, all the earth marveled. Opisso to theriu, after the beast. They were, what is this? He's back from the dead. Kind of mimicking what happened to Jesus, right? Theta eta is aorist passive. It's like a mountain, that theta that's up in the horizon. I see it. Aorist passive was healed. There's the augment. So this is aorist passive indicative, third singular from therapeuo. It was healed. Now, why didn't I do and was marveled? Because this is, unfortunately, what's called a deponent. Thalmadzo, is it? Okay, wrong again. Boy, I'm having a bad day. This is from thalmadzo. It's not deponent. So I changed it to was amazed, so that it fits the idea of an aorist passive. Again, aorist passive, indicative, third singular from thalmadzo. So the wound, his wound was healed, and all the land was amazed. This again is the subject, even though it comes after the verb, which probably is an indication of John's Semitism. He's a Aramaic speaker, and he's putting things in the order that makes the most sense to his Aramaic speaking brain. And in Hebrew and Aramaic, the verb tends to, or the subject tends to come after the verb. So all the land was amazed after the beast, the whole land. All right. Let's go. Let's keep going. Okay. Now I'm going to jump now to, I think it's verse 18 near the end. Hoda he Sophia estin, ho echon nun psephisato. Psephisato. All right. So here, the wisdom is. Here is wisdom. The one having understanding. Do you have a mind? The one who has a mind. No, this is not a slam. The one who has mind. The one who has understanding. Let him reckon. Ton arithmon tu theriu. The number of the beast. All right. So this is fairly straightforward here. The wisdom is. The one having understanding, let him reckon. Okay. So this is this is a participle. It is a nominative masculine singular participle. Because it has the article, we're going to use who, or Ken's rule. If the participle has the article, use who or that. Well, it's the one who having, or the one who has. Anyway, my rule doesn't help. The one having, this is present active participle, nominative masculine singular from echo, the one having mind, accusative feminine singular, let him reckon. Okay, so what do you recognize here? I see a sigma alpha, which is a sign of the aorist, but why isn't there an augment? There's no augment because it's imperative, and there's no augment in the imperative, aorist imperative. So it's a aorist active imperative, to, te, tosan. It's a third person singular. Let him. It's a let him command. Let the one having understanding reckon the number of the beast, for the number is the number of a man. And remember that they could, you could take a person's name and treat the letters as numbers and add it up. They didn't have separate symbols for numbers. What is it? And the number of him is 666. And of course, if you take Caesar, Nero, in Aramaic and add it up, it adds up to 666. So most scholars think that Nero is the prototype, the archetype for the beast. Now, we could argue that there's going to be another specific beast, or you can argue that this is primarily about the Roman Empire. Anyway, that's getting into the decoding part. But the Greek part is now done.